Hey y'all, I'm Carolina Tony. Today the road brings me to Columbia, South Carolina, and over my shoulder is the South Carolina State Lunatic Asylum. Started in the early 1800s, it's abandoned now. I have done everything in my power to gain access. Contacted my representative and he contacted people, and we're still working on it, and maybe someday we'll get to go inside, but for now we're just going to walk around it, give you a little bit of the history of this place, and show you some of the outbuildings before they're all gone. But right after this station, identification. Imagine being locked up in this institution behind iron bars, not necessarily for anything that you've done wrong. This is the South Carolina State Mental Hospital. It was founded in 1821, known as the South Carolina State Lunatic Asylum. In 1821, the General Assembly of South Carolina established the South Carolina Lunatic Asylum, but the first patient wasn't admitted until December of 1828. This main part was known as the Babcock Building, was actually designed by several architects. This first section of the Babcock Building was designed by George Walker in 1858, but he died before the south wing was completed. It wasn't until 1885 that the Babcock Building was completed. At first, the asylum would only take patients that were wealthy enough to pay for their care, and by 1850, the average patient paid around $250 a year. The indigent only paid $135 a year, and it was billed to the local government of wherever that patient came from. For the first 20 years, very few black patients were admitted, but in 1849, the General Assembly passed an act allowing the admission of black patients, both free and slave. During the latter part of the Civil War, the grounds around the Babcock Building was actually used for a Civil War prison. In 1865, when General Sherman was coming through Columbia, residents from all over fled to the hospital to be taken in to seek refuge from Sherman. The superintendent of the hospital actually used his own funds out of his own pocket to provide food for the refugees. By 1900, the asylum population had grown to over 1,000, and sadly, 30% of them died every year. During the 20th century, new medications caused patients to live a lot longer, and the patient care got even better. By the 1990s, the wards began to close until the hospital was completely abandoned. On the campus of the South Carolina Lunatic Asylum, as it was called in the late 1800s, it's a huge campus. There were all types of buildings associated with the mental hospital. They're pretty much deserted now and boarded up. There were homes where people that worked at the hospital lived, as well as some residents that needed a little care, but maybe not have to be, or residents needed a little care, but perhaps didn't have to be institutionalized. Such as this place, perhaps someone that worked at the hospital, a doctor or an employee. The window knocked out on the side. Let's see if we can look in. This building has been, or this home has been updated through the years because it's got vinyl siding on it. So it's not all that old. Of course, originally it probably is. A church or a chapel, and it's been boarded up as well. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. That's why I only enter if I have permission. Perhaps this was called the Kempson Center. Across the street is the Williams Building, and it is actually in the process of being demolished right now. They've been working on it for a few years. It's like they started knocking it down and they just stopped. Okay, this is just an old building that I came up on. Let's go inside. Well, we can't get inside, but let's look in the broken out windows. It appears that it was, one time or another, it was some type of factory. Some steam pipes over there, and some type of conveyor system with steam pipes overhead. Here's the building from the outside. Appears it has been abandoned for many years. There was a sign that I saw earlier that said something about a historic bakery, but I have not found that as of yet. And there's the back of South Carolina State Mental Hospital, and I'd love to go in there, but there's signs everywhere that.
Well, that's going to be a wrap for our trip to the South Carolina State Mental Hospital. I hope you've enjoyed this trip. I'm going to continue to try to get into this place, but I am going to do so the right way with the right connections. Well, thanks again for taking time out of your busy day to watch this video. Be sure to tell your family and friends. But until next time, y'all have a good day.